Captain Elias Drake stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring at the swirling violet clouds of the Virelian homeworld below. He had seen many planets in his career, but none had struck him like this one. Its cities shimmered like crystal towers, and vast oceans glowed faintly in colors he had never seen before. Yet beneath the beauty, he could feel tension, a quiet pulse of something waiting to erupt. Humanity had come a long way to be here, and now every decision mattered. Elias had been chosen for this mission because of his experience, his calm under pressure, and his ability to see beyond the obvious. The humans on the fleet trusted him, though they were still adjusting to the idea that they were strangers in an alien world. He had learned that the Virelians were unlike any species humans had ever encountered. They were tall, elegant, with luminous eyes that seemed to see straight into a person's thoughts. Their civilization was highly advanced, and their culture placed an extraordinary emphasis on hierarchy and protocol. The first meeting with the royal court was scheduled for that afternoon. Elias had spent hours reviewing the Virelian customs, trying to anticipate what might be expected of him. He wore the formal human attire of dark blue and silver, designed to look respectful yet distinct from the alien uniforms. The Virelians would judge his posture, his tone, even the slightest hesitation. He knew that even a small misstep could jeopardize the fragile alliance humans hoped to build. The doors to the Grand Palace opened, and Elias was escorted inside. The chamber was unlike any council hall he had seen. Light flowed through translucent walls, creating shifting patterns across the floor. At the center stood the royal family, regal and imposing. Yet Elias's attention was drawn immediately to the princess. Liari was younger than he expected, her presence calm yet commanding. Her hair shimmered faintly like spun silver, and her eyes held an intelligence that seemed to weigh every detail in the room. "Captain Drake," a Virelian official said, his voice smooth and measured, "we are honored to receive you and your crew. The princess will speak with you privately, after the introductions." Elias nodded, keeping his expression neutral. Private meetings with royalty were always unpredictable, and he had learned to prepare for anything. As the introductions concluded, the hall emptied, except for Elias and Liari. She stepped forward, her movements deliberate, almost musical. Elias felt an unexpected weight of attention, as though she were studying every part of him. "You are human," she said softly, her voice carrying curiosity rather than judgment. "I have observed your kind for some time. Yet I wonder, can you stand beside me when the time comes?" Her words were simple, but they carried meaning that Elias did not immediately understand. He realized that in this moment, she was not speaking as a princess, but as someone seeking a partner, a companion in a struggle he had not yet seen. "I will do what I can," he said carefully. "But I need to understand what you are asking." Liari's expression softened slightly, and she gestured toward the balcony overlooking the city. Elias followed her, feeling a strange mixture of caution and trust. The view took his breath away. Towers of translucent crystal rose above the clouds, and flying vessels moved like silver fish across the sky. Yet even in this beauty, he could sense the tension, the whispers of politics, the unspoken threats that lurked in shadows. "My people are in danger," she said finally. "There are those among us who would see this world torn apart for their own gain. I cannot face them alone. I need someone from your kind, someone who can think differently, act without fear, and make decisions when others hesitate. Can you be that person?" Elias felt the weight of her words. Humans were newcomers here, fragile and inexperienced compared to the Virelians. Yet, in that moment, he felt the familiar fire of responsibility. He had trained his whole life to protect, to lead, and to find solutions where none seemed possible. "I will stand beside you," he said firmly. "But only if you trust me enough to work together, as equals." Liari studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Trust is difficult in my world," she admitted. "But I see in you something different. Perhaps this will work." They returned to the hall, and Elias noticed the curious eyes of the remaining attendants. He realized that in accepting her request, he had stepped into a larger story, one where humans could make a real difference in the galaxy. It was both thrilling and terrifying. Over the following days, Elias began to learn the intricacies of Virelian politics. The palace was a maze of alliances and rivalries, each one carefully hidden behind formal gestures and ceremonial words. Some nobles were openly skeptical of humans, seeing them as naive and unpredictable. Others, intrigued by Elias's straightforward approach and human ingenuity, quietly offered support. Elias discovered that the attacks on the capital were not random accidents. The rogue factions were trying to weaken the royal family, hoping to spark a war that would allow them to seize power. The Virelians were strong, but their society had grown complacent, relying too much on tradition and technology. Humans, with their adaptability and moral courage, became an unexpected advantage. Liari began involving Elias in strategy discussions. At first, it was small matters: security protocols, logistics, analysis of suspicious activity, but soon, he found himself contributing ideas that challenged the Virelian way of thinking. He suggested using human reconnaissance methods combined with Virelian sensor technology to detect infiltrators. He proposed evacuation strategies that prioritized civilians, rather than just military assets. Each idea was met with a mixture of skepticism and fascination. Through it all, Elias and Liari developed a quiet bond. It was not romantic, though there was an unspoken trust and understanding between them. She respected his judgment, and he respected her courage. Together, they navigated a world of political intrigue that neither had fully understood before. One evening, as the twin moons of the Virelian world rose over the horizon, Liari took Elias to a secluded garden. The air was filled with the fragrance of alien flowers, their colors shifting with every breath of wind. She turned to him and said, "Captain Drake, I do not know how this will end, but I believe that with you by my side, we have a chance to protect what is important. Will you continue to stand with me?" Elias looked at her, then at the world spread out beneath them. The stakes were immense, the challenges daunting, but he had never been one to back down from responsibility. "I will," he said without hesitation. "No matter what comes, I will stand with you." That night, as he returned to the human quarters, Elias reflected on how far humanity had come. They were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, yet they possessed something that could not be measured by machines or weapons: ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to do what was right, even when the odds were against them. In this alien world, those traits were more valuable than anything else. As Elias prepared for the days ahead, he knew that the real test was just beginning. The rogue factions were growing bolder, and the city's defenses could only hold for so long. But he also knew that humanity had something unique to offer, something that no Virelian tradition could match. In the silence of his quarters, he allowed himself a rare moment of hope. Against all odds, humans could rise to the challenge. And maybe, just maybe, they could help ensure that peace and justice prevailed, not through dominance, but through courage, ingenuity, and steadfast moral strength. And as he drifted to sleep, he thought of Liari's words, softly spoken in the balcony garden. "Will you stand beside me?" He knew the answer was more than a promise. It was a call to action. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as partners, and Captain Elias Drake intended to prove that they could stand tall, even among the stars. The first part of their journey had ended, but the real adventure was just beginning. The morning sun rose over the Virelian capital, casting long shadows across the translucent towers and bathing the city in pale violet light. Captain Elias Drake stood on the observation balcony of the palace, his eyes scanning the horizon. Despite the beauty of the city, he could feel the tension building. Reports of sabotage had increased overnight, and the rogue factions seemed more coordinated than anyone had anticipated. Liari approached him quietly, her steps almost silent on the polished floor. Her expression was calm, but Elias knew her as well as anyone could in just a few days. The calmness was a mask for concern. "The council has requested a meeting," she said softly. "They want solutions, And they expect you to have ideas. Elias nodded. He was beginning to understand the intricate dance of Varelian politics. Every word, every suggestion, could be interpreted as loyalty, challenge, or threat. Humans were newcomers, and while their courage and ingenuity were respected, their lack of tradition made some Varelians wary. Yet Elias had learned something crucial. Humans did not have to follow the old ways to be effective. They could innovate, adapt, and act decisively. In the council chamber, Elias presented a detailed analysis of the recent attacks. He explained that the rogue factions were targeting critical infrastructure, power grids, transport hubs, and communication centers to destabilize the city. The council listened, some faces skeptical, others intrigued. "Your approach is unconventional," one elder said. "We rely on precision and tradition. Why deviate from what has worked for centuries?" Elias met the elder's gaze steadily. "Because your enemies are not following tradition," he replied. "They are unpredictable. They strike where we least expect. To protect your people, we need to think differently. We need to act before they do." Liari's eyes softened with approval. She had chosen Elias not because he was human, but because he could see the world in ways they could not. His suggestions combined human resourcefulness with Varelian technology, creating solutions that were both practical and surprising. One of his ideas involved using the city's transportation networks in new ways. Humans had developed adaptive routing systems for their vehicles on Earth, allowing them to navigate complex environments efficiently. Elias proposed integrating similar algorithms with Varelian transit grids to monitor movements across the city. The council was hesitant, but Liari supported him. "We must try," she said. "If we fail, at least we do so with action." Over the next days, Elias worked closely with both human engineers and Varelian technicians. He observed how the aliens approached problem-solving, methodical, precise, and often slow. Humans, by contrast, acted quickly, tested ideas immediately, and adapted when things failed. This combination of strengths began to yield results. One evening, while monitoring city security from the palace command center, Elias noticed unusual energy fluctuations near one of the main transport hubs. Using the combined human-Varelian monitoring system, he traced the signal to a concealed storage facility. A rogue faction had been storing weapons and explosives, planning coordinated attacks on several key locations. He immediately informed Liari. "We can stop them before they strike," he said. "But we have to act now. And we need a plan that moves faster than their expectations." Liari agreed, and together they formulated a precise operation. Humans would take charge of infiltration, using their adaptability and quick thinking to navigate the unfamiliar alien structures. Varelian forces would provide support, leveraging their advanced technology and firepower. Elias briefed the team personally, explaining not just the objectives, but the reasoning behind each step. His straightforward communication style inspired confidence, and the humans quickly bonded with the Varelian units assigned to them. As night fell, the operation began. Elias led the first team into the storage facility, moving silently through corridors illuminated by soft alien light. He relied on his instincts, honed over years of missions, while also coordinating with the Varelian sensors. They moved with efficiency and caution, bypassing traps and security measures. Inside, Elias discovered something unexpected. The rogue faction had captured several young Varelians, intending to use them as leverage. His heart tightened at the sight, but he did not hesitate. Using human ingenuity, he devised a quick method to disable the guards and free the captives without causing harm. The combination of human creativity and Varelian technology worked seamlessly. By dawn, the mission was a success. The weapons were secured, the captives rescued, and the rogue faction's plan had been foiled. The city remained intact, and Elias and Liari's cooperation had proven effective beyond expectations. The council convened once more, this time with a different tone. The elders who had doubted humans now observed them with respect. "Your kind has unexpected strength," one remarked. "You think in ways we do not." Perhaps this alliance will be stronger than we imagined. Elias felt a sense of pride. Not for himself, but for humanity. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most technologically advanced, yet they had a quality that mattered in moments like this: courage, adaptability, and the willingness to act with integrity. It was this combination that had saved the city and earned the trust of an alien civilization. Liari approached him after the meeting, her expression reflecting relief and admiration. "You have proven yourself," she said softly. "Not just to me, but to my people. Your kind, humans. You have potential beyond what we imagined." Elias shook his head with a modest smile. "We are not perfect," he replied. "But we try. And we do what is right when it matters most." The following days were filled with preparation and vigilance. Elias continued to work with Liari, analyzing intelligence reports and coordinating security measures. They discovered that the rogue factions were more widespread than initially thought, with cells operating in other regions of the city and even outside the capital. It was clear that the threat was not over, and the real challenge was yet to come. Elias noticed a pattern in the rogue activity. They were targeting not just infrastructure, but the morale of the people. They wanted to instill fear, to make the citizens question their leadership. Humans had a term for this: psychological warfare. Using his understanding of human behavior, Elias proposed community outreach initiatives, designed to reassure citizens and provide clear communication. The Virelians were skeptical at first, but the results spoke for themselves. People felt safer, more informed, and more united. During one patrol of the city streets, Elias and a small human Virelian team encountered a group of rogue operatives attempting to sabotage a communication hub. Using quick thinking and coordination, they prevented the attack, capturing the operatives without bloodshed. The event became a symbol for the citizens. Humans could protect them, and the alliance was real. Through all this, Elias and Liari grew closer in their partnership. Their trust was built on shared experience, mutual respect, and a deep understanding of each other's values. Liari confided in Elias about her fears, the possibility that her world might descend into chaos if the rogue factions succeeded. Elias shared his own worries, acknowledging the burden of responsibility humans now carried in an alien world. Yet together, they found strength, a sense of purpose that went beyond individual survival. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise over the city, Liari spoke quietly. "You have changed my perspective," she said. "I once believed that my people were alone in this universe, that only we could protect ourselves. But you, humans, you remind me that courage and wisdom are not limited by species." Elias looked at the moons, reflecting on how far humanity had come. They were newcomers, fragile in many ways, yet capable of rising to challenges that even the most advanced civilizations struggled to face. "We do what we must," he replied, "and when we work together, we can achieve more than anyone imagined." The night was calm, but Elias knew that the calm would not last. The rogue factions were still out there, planning, scheming, and waiting for the right moment to strike again. Yet he also knew that humans had proven something crucial. They could stand beside the Virelians, not as servants or subordinates, but as partners, equals in courage and integrity. As he prepared for another day of strategy and vigilance, Elias felt a quiet confidence. Humanity had arrived in this part of the galaxy, not to conquer or dominate, but to act with honor, intelligence, and bravery. And in doing so, they were earning respect, forging alliances, and proving that even a newcomer species could make a difference. The sun rose again over the Virelian capital, casting its light across the towers and streets. Elias and Liari stood together, looking toward the future, knowing that challenges awaited, but also knowing that they were stronger for facing them together. In that moment, the promise made on the observation balcony, the promise to stand beside one another, was no longer just words. It was action, courage, and determination. Humanity had shown that even in a world full of unknowns, it could rise to the challenge, protect what was right, and inspire hope in the hearts of others. And with that, Captain Elias Drake knew that the story of humans and Varelians had only just begun. The Varelian capital had settled into a fragile rhythm after the recent attacks. Citizens moved through the crystal streets with cautious confidence, reassured by the visible presence of both human and Varelian patrols. Yet Captain Elias Drake knew better than to believe that peace would last. The rogue factions had been clever, resourceful, and relentless. Their attacks were only the beginning, and now they had begun targeting the outer districts where human engineers and Varelian allies worked together to repair critical infrastructure. Elias spent hours analyzing reports with Liari in the palace command center. Screens glowed with maps, sensor readings, and surveillance feeds, each one indicating potential threats. The rogue cells were more widespread than anyone had anticipated. Small teams moved like shadows across the city, sabotaging supplies, cutting off communication lines, and attempting to turn citizen trust against the royal family. "We can't respond to every threat individually," Elias said, tracing his finger along the display. "We need a strategy that addresses multiple attacks at once, using what humans call predictive coordination. We identify patterns and act before the enemy strikes, not just after." Liari studied him intently. "Your methods are unconventional, but effective. If we can integrate human adaptability with our technology, we may be able to anticipate their moves." Together, they devised a new system. Human intelligence and instinct were combined with Varelian sensor networks, creating a predictive model that could estimate where and when attacks might occur. Varelian commanders initially resisted, uncomfortable with relying on human intuition. But Elias demonstrated its effectiveness, intercepting a small sabotage attempt before it could disrupt the city's energy grid. Success brought quiet respect from the council, though whispers of doubt still lingered in the halls. As the system went online, Elias realized the rogue factions were not just striking randomly. They had an end game: to provoke chaos, weaken Liari's position, and force a coup that could take control of the entire capital. If they succeeded, the fragile alliance between humans and Varelians would crumble before it even had a chance to grow. One night, while reviewing the latest intelligence, Elias noticed something alarming. A rogue general, previously hidden within the military hierarchy, was coordinating attacks across multiple districts. The general had access to powerful technology and seemed to anticipate the council's every move. This was no longer a series of small sabotage attempts. It was a full-scale operation to seize power. Liari's expression hardened as Elias briefed her. "This general knows my strategies. He knows the palace defenses. He may even know your methods now." "We need to strike first," Elias said firmly. "We combine human unpredictability with Varelian precision. We move together, and we hit multiple targets at once. If we delay, they will gain the advantage." They began preparing for the operation, selecting teams composed of both humans and Varelians. Training sessions were intense, focusing on coordination, communication, and adaptability. Humans had to understand alien equipment and tactics quickly, while Varelians had to learn to trust instinct as much as calculation. Despite the challenges, the teams worked tirelessly, driven by a shared purpose. The night before the operation, Elias stood on the balcony with Liari. The city below shimmered under the twin moons, peaceful and beautiful, unaware of the storm about to strike. "Are you certain this will work?" Liari asked quietly. Elias looked out over the city, thinking of the engineers, the citizens, and the young Varelians they had saved from the rogue cells. "We don't know everything will go perfectly," he said. "But we know that together, humans and Varelians can achieve what neither could alone. We act with courage and intelligence, and we adapt. That is our strength." Liari nodded, placing her hand lightly on his arm. "Then we will stand together, no matter what comes." At dawn, the operation began. Teams moved swiftly through the city, disabling rogue devices, intercepting enemy operatives, and securing vulnerable points. Elias led one of the most critical missions, infiltrating a communication hub where the rogue general had established his command center. The hub was heavily guarded, with energy shields and automated defense systems designed to detect and eliminate intruders. Humans had never faced technology like this before, yet Elias relied on ingenuity rather than force. Using improvised tools and adaptive thinking, his team bypassed the shields, disabling security protocols in ways the Virelians had not considered. The combination of human creativity and alien technology proved unstoppable. Inside the hub, they found evidence of the general's plan. Multiple coordinated strikes aimed at key areas of the city, timed to create maximum chaos. Elias transmitted the data to Liari, who immediately mobilized defensive units to counter the attacks. Humans assisted in rerouting energy flows, reinforcing structural weaknesses, and guiding citizens to safety. Meanwhile, in the streets, other teams engaged rogue operatives directly. Humans showed their resilience, improvising strategies in real time when plans encountered obstacles. Virelians marveled at their ability to adapt, learning to trust human instincts over rigid procedures. Together, the joint teams neutralized threats across multiple districts, protecting lives and infrastructure with minimal damage. The rogue general realized his plan was failing and attempted to flee the hub. Elias and a small squad pursued him through winding corridors, where the general activated traps and automated defenses. Elias used quick thinking, diverting energy flows and disabling devices with a mixture of human resourcefulness and Virelian technology. Eventually, they cornered the general in a secure chamber, where he surrendered rather than risk further confrontation. The success of the operation had immediate consequences. Rogue factions were disbanded or captured. Their influence weakened, and the city returned to a state of controlled order. The citizens, inspired by the display of unity between humans and Virelians, began to openly support the royal family and the human allies who had helped protect them. Liari addressed the council, praising the efforts of humans and Virelians alike. "We have faced a great threat," she said, her voice steady and proud. "And we have survived, not through fear, but through cooperation, courage, and intelligence. Humans have shown us that strength is not measured by tradition or technology alone, but by the heart and mind that guide it." Elias felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. Humans had been tested, and they had risen to the occasion. They were not the strongest in the galaxy, but they possessed qualities that mattered most: courage in the face of danger, ingenuity when faced with the unknown, and a moral compass that guided their actions. In the following days, Elias and Liari worked to rebuild and strengthen the alliance. The council slowly began to embrace human methods, recognizing that flexibility, creativity, and rapid decision-making were as valuable as precision and tradition. Citizens felt safer, knowing that humans and Virelians were united in their protection. Elias took time to reflect on how humans had adapted so quickly. They had arrived as outsiders, untested and fragile in the eyes of the Virelians, yet they had proven themselves indispensable. Their ability to act decisively, think creatively, and stand firmly by their principles had earned respect and trust. Liari often joined him during these reflections, watching the city with quiet admiration. "I was wrong to doubt humans," she said one evening. "You have not only protected my people, but reminded us of what is possible when courage and wisdom guide action. You are not merely allies, you are partners in every sense." Elias smiled, humbled by her words. "We are still learning," he said, "but I believe humans have a role to play here. Not just as protectors, but as contributors to something greater than ourselves. We can help build a future where cooperation and courage prevail." The twin moons rose once more, bathing the city in their soft light. Citizens moved about with a renewed sense of hope and trust. Humans and Virelians worked side by side, repairing damage, strengthening defenses, and preparing for the challenges that would inevitably come again. Elias and Liari stood on a balcony, observing the activity below. They did not speak for long, because words were unnecessary. Their actions had spoken volumes. Together, they had faced a threat that could have destroyed the capital, and together they had prevailed. The bond between humans and Virelians was stronger than ever. founded not on obligation, but on mutual respect, trust, and shared courage. As Elias prepared for another day of planning and vigilance, he knew that the rogue factions were unlikely to vanish entirely. The galaxy was full of danger and unpredictability, and humanity's journey in this world was only beginning. But he also knew something profound. Humans could rise to challenges that even the most advanced civilizations struggled to face. The promise to stand beside one another, first spoken in the quiet moments of a palace balcony, had become a living reality. Elias felt a deep sense of responsibility, but also hope. Humanity was not perfect, but they had proven that they could act with honor, ingenuity, and courage, and in doing so, they had earned a place in the stars, not through domination, but through partnership, bravery, and unwavering resolve. The city below glimmered under the twin moons, alive with light, movement, and the quiet hum of progress. Elias and Liari remained on the balcony, watching the future unfold. They had faced tremendous challenges, yet they had prevailed together. And as the night deepened, they knew that whatever came next, they would face it as partners, united in purpose, and guided by the courage and ingenuity that defined humanity. The journey was far from over, but the foundations had been laid. Humans had proven their worth, the alliance had been strengthened, and the city stood resilient against the chaos that had threatened it. And above all, Captain Elias Drake knew that in a galaxy full of unknowns, courage, intelligence, and moral integrity would always be humanity's greatest weapons. The calm of the Varelian capital was deceptive. Even after the recent victories against the rogue factions, Captain Elias Drake could feel the tension in the air. Reports came in faster now, showing signs that the rogue general had not acted alone. Far beyond the city, networks of rogue operatives had spread across the outer systems, threatening not just the capital but the stability of the entire Varelian homeworld. Liari stood beside him in the palace command center, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays of planetary systems, troop movements, and energy grids. "This is bigger than we imagined," she said quietly. "If they succeed, the chaos will reach every city, every settlement. Our people will be vulnerable everywhere." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity had proven itself capable of standing alongside the Varelians. But now the stakes were higher. They were no longer facing small rogue cells or a single ambitious general. They were confronting a coordinated threat that could destabilize an entire civilization. Yet Elias also knew that humans had something rare: courage, ingenuity, and the ability to adapt when faced with the impossible. "We need a plan that moves faster than their network," Elias said. "We can't respond piecemeal. We need to hit them all at once. Prevent their strikes before they even happen. Human strategy combined with Varelian technology can do it. But we need absolute coordination." Liari nodded. "We will do it. Together." The operation began with preparation that spanned every district of the capital. Humans trained alongside Varelian units, showing them unconventional tactics that relied on speed, improvisation, and observation rather than rigid protocols. For the first time, some Varelians began to trust instincts over tradition. Elias's presence encouraged both species to work together as equals. They divided into multiple strike teams, each assigned to intercept rogue operatives, secure infrastructure, and neutralize threats. Elias led the central team, tasked with infiltrating the main rogue network hub, a massive facility hidden beneath the mountains outside the capital. The facility was heavily guarded, equipped with automated defenses, and reinforced with alien security systems that even the most advanced humans would find intimidating. Yet Elias's mind raced with ideas. Where technology created barriers, ingenuity would find a solution. As they approached the facility, Elias reviewed the plan one last time. "We move in stages," he said to his team. "Humans handle adaptability. We bypass unexpected threats and improvise solutions. Varelians provide support and firepower when needed. We move together. As one. No hesitation, no mistakes." The team descended into the mountains, using both stealth and strategic diversions. Automated patrols were tricked using human-designed decoys, while Virelian sensor technology monitored enemy movements. When a locked energy gate blocked their path, Elias quickly improvised a bypass using tools combined with alien circuitry. The system was neutralized in minutes, something the Virelians had not expected. Inside the facility, they encountered the rogue general, surrounded by his most loyal operatives. He had anticipated an attack, but he had not anticipated the combination of human creativity and Virelian coordination. Elias led the charge, using quick thinking to divert energy flows, disable traps, and guide his team through the labyrinthine corridors. Each step required adaptation, courage, and trust. The general tried to escape, activating a series of automated defenses. Explosions rocked the facility, alarms blaring. Yet the human Virelian teams moved with efficiency. Humans improvised solutions on the spot, while Virelians provided calculated precision. Together, they neutralized the general's forces, disarmed traps, and secured the hub. Outside, other teams were achieving victories of their own. Rogue operatives attempting attacks in distant districts were intercepted by human intuition combined with alien technology. Communication networks were restored, energy grids reinforced, and civilians protected. The coordination was seamless, and the citizens began to see humans as true allies, rather than outsiders. Elias finally confronted the rogue general directly. The general, realizing defeat was inevitable, attempted one last desperate maneuver, activating a self-destruct sequence in the facility. Elias reacted instinctively, using human improvisation to override the controls while keeping his team safe. The general, seeing that his plan had failed, surrendered without further resistance. The facility was secured, and the rogue network was dismantled. The threat to the city and the outer systems had been neutralized. Yet the victory was not just tactical. It was symbolic. Humanity had proven that they could rise to challenges no one expected them to face. They had earned trust, respect, and partnership through courage, intelligence, and action. Liari met Elias outside the facility, as the first rays of dawn illuminated the mountains. Her expression was a mixture of relief and admiration. "You have done more than stand beside me," she said softly. "You have shown my people that humanity can rise to any challenge. You have earned a place in our hearts and in our history." Elias looked at her, then at the rising sun reflecting off the crystalline towers of the capital in the distance. "We did it together," he replied. "Humans and Virelians, side by side. That's what matters. Courage, cooperation, and ingenuity. That is what makes us strong." The days following the operation were filled with rebuilding and celebration. Citizens expressed gratitude openly, and even the most skeptical council members acknowledged the value of the human presence. Workshops were established to combine human ingenuity with Virelian technology, creating innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. Elias spent much of his time coordinating these projects, mentoring both humans and Virelians. The city thrived as trust deepened, and the alliance became a model for other systems observing the Virelian homeworld. Humans, once seen as fragile newcomers, were now recognized as partners capable of standing alongside one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Through it all, Elias and Liari maintained their bond. They often walked together on the palace balconies, overlooking the city. Their partnership had evolved from necessity to respect, trust, and understanding. There was no need for grand declarations. Their shared experiences spoke louder than words. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise over the capital, Liari spoke softly. "I never imagined humans could achieve so much, not just with technology or strength, but with courage and intelligence. You have reminded us of what is possible when we act together, with integrity and heart." Elias nodded. "Humanity has always found a way to rise to the challenge. We may be young among the stars, but we have something that lasts longer than machines or weapons: creativity, courage, and the will to do what is right." Liari smiled, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Then we will continue, together." Whatever comes next, we face it as equals, united in purpose. The twin moons cast their gentle light across the city, reflecting in the crystalline towers and bathing the streets in a serene glow. Citizens moved about with renewed confidence, knowing that humans and Virelians were united in their protection. Trade resumed. Children played in the parks, and the markets bustled with life. The capital was alive once more, stronger and more resilient than before. Elias walked through the city with a small human team, observing the reconstruction efforts. Engineers collaborated with Virelian technicians, combining ideas in ways that neither species had attempted before. Humans suggested practical solutions for energy efficiency, transport, and communication, while Virelians provided the technological expertise and precision. Together, they created systems that were more robust, adaptable, and innovative than anything that had existed before. In the council chamber, Liari formally recognized the human contributions. The people of Earth have shown bravery, ingenuity, and moral strength, she declared. They have proven that even in the vast unknown of the galaxy, courage and intelligence can create hope and protect life. They are not just allies. They are partners in our shared future. Elias felt a surge of pride, not in himself, but in humanity. Humans had arrived as outsiders, untested and underestimated. They had faced threats that could have destroyed an entire civilization, and had succeeded through cooperation, cleverness, and moral courage. They had proven that humanity could rise to the occasion, no matter how impossible the challenge. As the weeks passed, the rogue faction's influence faded entirely. Systems across the outer planets reported peace and stability. Humans and Virelians continued to collaborate, sharing knowledge and building stronger defenses. The alliance had transformed from a tentative relationship into a robust partnership founded on trust, respect, and shared values. Elias and Liari often stood together on the highest balcony of the palace, overlooking the city. The twin suns rose and set over the horizon, painting the towers in hues of gold and violet. They knew that the galaxy would always hold new challenges, new threats, and unexpected obstacles. Yet they also knew something essential. Together, humans and Virelians could meet anything. One evening, as the sky deepened into twilight, Liari spoke quietly. "You asked me once if I could stand beside you. Now, I realize that we have stood beside each other all along, not as strangers, not as allies by circumstance, but as partners who trust in courage, intelligence, and integrity." Elias nodded. "And we will continue to do so. Humanity has proven that we are capable, adaptable, and willing to rise to any challenge. That is who we are." The city below sparkled with life, a testament to resilience, cooperation, and hope. Humans had shown that even in a galaxy full of mysteries and dangers, they could make a difference. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and moral strength could triumph where brute force alone could not. The story of Captain Elias Drake and Princess Liari concluded not with finality, but with a beginning a new chapter in which humans had earned their place among the stars. Together, they had faced impossible odds, overcome threats that could have destroyed an entire civilization, and proven that humanity, even in a world far from home, could stand tall, act bravely, and inspire hope. And as Elias looked out over the capital, hand in hand with Liari, he understood the truth that had carried them through every challenge. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, and full of opportunity. But with courage, ingenuity, and unity, humans could rise to any challenge, stand beside any ally, and carve a place for themselves among the stars.